It's funny that you don't. I mean, you said that phrase.
I said the words hindsight bias. When?
On Khani's podcast. You said, "Oh, it's hindsight bias," because many times people are like, "Is this what you meant when you wrote this lyric?" And then
you probably just had it like in the back of your brain.
That's what you meant. Okay, I don't think I used those words. Did I use those words? I didn't even know those words.
Well, maybe they were like swirling in your subconscious, and you used them. And you didn't really know.
Maybe I knew those words. Maybe I always knew those words.
Maybe you didn't use the word bias. Actually, maybe I inserted that one.
I probably just said in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
I'm not that smart. That would use the word bias.
Should you move the mic closer?
Smart.
Good for you for correcting that.
I think the mic should be closer to your.
To me?
Like you could pull it in. Yeah.
Make sure he's...
Or no?
I don't want to go overboard.
Okay.
Okay, that's good.
Is that good?
This is
Yes.
great. Yeah.
Let's go.
All right.
You're
Hello, guys.
Rivka.
I'm Rivka.
Chaya.
Chaya, okay.
Yeah. So you've been in touch with me.
I'm
you know
Ari.
that. We met in the gym like the same day we were texting.
Yeah, that was really funny. Like
I was like, should I go over? Should I not? I was like, it'll be weird if I didn't go over. So I was like, okay.
It was like
Cool.
10 minutes after we were texting.
Yeah,
It's like,
literally.
right. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Welcome back, guys. We are here with Alnev. If you want to introduce yourself. Do you want to say your real name?
I'm Ari or Alnev. Call me
Okay.
anything. It doesn't matter.
Which one do you prefer to go by?
With friends, it's usually Ari. Professionally, it's Alnev. But like, I've had people call me either. It doesn't really like. It's a name I chose, so it's not like it's like weird for me to be called that.
Where did it come from?
Where did Alnev come from?
Yeah.
The long story short is there
Here's
was
questions, by the way.
since I was maybe 14 or 13, I've been coming up with names, just like all different types of names to be as like a stage name, even though I wasn't making music at that point. I just wanted to
Just
have
a
a name.
stage name.
Yeah, just a
That's
name.
so
I don't know
funny.
why. And there was like about 100 and something of them. And
Whoa.
yeah. And in 2019, I cut it down to 4, and then I cut it down to Alnev. Like I asked a bunch of people.
What were
and
the top 4?
Mhm.
I can't say.
Really?
I don't
Why?
want to share the top 4 because then if someone's like, oh, well, I actually like that one better, you should have chosen that one, then I'm always going to have that in my head. So I just want to have it like,
This is your decision.
this is
and
it.
that's
Yeah. And I'm very happy with it. Like, it's definitely
It's a
the best
cool name. And
Yeah.
like you're known by Alnev. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
I didn't even
me.
know your name before like Khani introduced me to you and stuff. But like, yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool to be like called by a name that you chose.
Yeah.
And like when strangers meet me and know me by that name, it's like, oh, sick. Like people know who I am, you know?
So what's the meaning behind Alnev? What is it?
It's a lot. It's like 40 different things at once, but the main, like, it means pseudonym or pen name in Hungarian. So my pen name is pen name is the idea.
That's
So it's like super meta and cool.
Yeah.
But like in my mind, I'm not sure if I ever said this out loud really, but I think it's like a mask. It's kind of like, because a pen name is really like where you're like choosing a name that represents a part of you, right? So like, is J.K. Rowling her real name? I don't even know what her real name is. Do you know what her real name
don't
is?
think
It's
that's her
not
real
her real
name.
name.
It's not her real name?
No. She did a name that was kind of amorphous to people who wouldn't understand if it was a female or a male. Because
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember
So-
that. Because like
so
she wouldn't
have to
get
deal
more
with the
opportunities.
sexism. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cool.
J.K. Rowling's
not the
story.
sexism, but that's just a cool.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool that she chose your name.
She just has a crazy story. Like the fact that she was rejected so many times and made like one of the biggest things ever is
Sick.
so like representative of like just everyone being successful. They
Yeah.
try so many times and fail. And I'm sure you have a similar story as well, which
Yeah,
we'll get into.
everyone
Yeah,
does.
I
everyone.
love her story. Yeah.
So it means like it's like a mask for your
Oh, so it's basically, it's just like, it's one name that represents that part of myself, which is music. So it's like
Yeah.
the name itself connotes like a name, and like the whole idea is like it's kind of hard. It's like weird to think about, but I explained it a bit on Khani's podcast too. It's just like there's different, like we name ourselves different things. Like kind of in Chassidus, we have like, you know, you could be a sister, you could be a mother, you like you're a teacher, like you're a million things. So like I felt like having a name that represents the part of my soul which expresses music would be like what I needed. And I guess that's kind of in hindsight, like that's what I was trying to do. I didn't know at the time. I was just like, oh, this sounds cool and I like the meaning of it. And then over time it built meaning for me. Like, oh, this is like, it feels like the correct name to identify the part of my soul that expresses music. So like,
why though something that is a mask?
because expression of any sort is like limited. It's like anytime you're expressing something, you're not really getting to the core of yourself.
You're using a medium.
It's a medium
Yeah.
already. So like, it's kind of like, I'm not like the core of me, I'd say is probably Ari, because like if you truly know me, that would be what the core would be called. And then like one medium of expression is Alnev, which is like, this is how I delegate music. And then there's also like, as a poet, I write poetry too. And my poetry, I feel like, is more Ari than it is Alnev, which is weird because I don't know why, but just like I just sense that it's the name for it is not like Alnev. Like there's no specific image around it. It's pure expression without any limitations. And I'll also say that like the reason why like Alnev is like more limited and the music is more limited is because when you're writing a song, there's limits. Like you have to fit it into a certain amount of time and you have to have a verse, a pre-chorus, a chorus. With a poem, you can just go as much as you want. You can do whatever you want, you know? There's no rules really. But with music, there's more rules and that kind of limits your expression. But it's also beautiful because you can like express a ton with limited amounts.
I was going to ask, like, do you appreciate the limitations?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be a poet. I'm trying to be an artist, you know? So it's like...
And it gives you like a structure to build something. Yeah.
But also the great thing about creating something is that you're going to create it with some sort of intention or some sort of story behind it, right? You're writing these lyrics because it comes from a place where you've experienced a sort of pain or this sort of experience. But at least for me, I've had to let go of the idea that there are going to be multiple interpretations of whatever this is. And I want to be able to infuse all of those inside and create this nuanced piece of art. I think you have to let go of those things that will happen regardless of if you try it or not. Is this making any sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that like a process that happened with you?
Yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of people who come to me and tell me that my song meant something to them that it did not mean to me when I wrote it. And I'm always like trying to like add it to the list of things that the song means.
Yeah.
And then like in hindsight, I'm looking back, I'm like, oh, like when I wrote that, there was some part of me that was saying that. I just didn't know it, you know?
Yeah. But maybe not even like the conscious part of you. Like the subconscious that we're all that's so like in like the great story
consciousness.
Sense. Yes,
collective
for
consciousness.
Real. I mean, it's so spiritual. But
I do think that like that's very obscure and like you cannot prove that at all.
Like
it is the definition of like hindsight bias of being like, oh, yeah, maybe I did mean that, but like, no, it is cool when people find their own interpretation of things.
Yeah.
But I don't think you always have had it in your subconscious when you're expressing a song. People are just relating their own experiences to the song that you write.
Yeah, but then when they tell me that, I'm like...
You're like, it makes sense.
It actually makes sense. Like there's a part of me that's like, oh, like I didn't even know it meant that. But there's something in there that's like, yeah, that's right. You know?
Was there ever an experience where someone like said what it meant to them and it's like, that's totally not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's both.
Yeah, I was on the phone with my therapist today and I told her a line I wrote because I shouted her out in one of my songs that I wrote like last week.
Nice.
And I read her one of the lines and she was like, oh, that means this. And I was like, it means the exact opposite of what you said. And then I explained it to her and she was like, oh, thanks for explaining because I would not have understood that. But I could get what she was saying and I could see maybe it is somewhat true because there is truth in it, but it definitely is not. Like I was like, that's not at all what I meant, you know?
Yeah. For me, I think I've had to let go of trying to make people see my vision because I think I want to be able to express what I'm expressing, and the creative process is allowing other people to take it and having it connect with them in the way that they connect with it. Mm-hmm. And that's really cool.
That's art.
And that, and that's, they might not be getting the way I wanted them to see it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know? And so maybe your therapist saw it that way, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know?
She's
also infusing her experience with what you gave her.
But you also have to admit, it's so satisfying when someone gets it exactly as you meant it.
That's kind of
and they catch the little hints you put and they're like, oh, you mean that? And I'm like, yeah.
I'm so bad at that.
Those are the best.
Like in class when we used to like interpret poems and stuff, I was so bad at like getting the point of it. Yeah. I'm so not like a creative person.
I've had that experience, by the way.
Really?
I'm a creative person, but there are many poems where I'm like, this means nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just like, I think that like there's just art you connect with, art you don't.
Yeah.
Like, it just depends on the time and the place.
So when did you first like discover this like talent of yours that? Because you're really talented. Well, I guess all of them. Writing, playing instruments, writing music, producing. Wait, 1 second. I have a question. Was producing more of a skill you had to learn, or was it a talent?
Producing is like is probably my least honed skill. I don't like produce my own music.
Oh, okay.
Almost at all. I have like I work with Yosef and Shlomo. Like, they're incredible producers and like they do most production. I'm learning on my own how to produce, but I'm still like I'm way stronger in all the other areas. Like production, I don't do on my own yet.
But I saw a video on Instagram where you were like showing how you produced the song Drugs. Was that like just for reels or was it? We're calling you out.
You're calling me out, and you're right. I did not produce the song.
Okay.
That is just a breakdown of the song parts that were all already recorded. Like that wasn't actual recordings of me making the song.
Okay.
We did that. Like we just had all the stems of the song, and we were just like, oh, let's take a video where we show a breakdown of the song.
Smart.
Yeah. I don't know if I say I produced this, although I probably did, because like
I don't remember.
That would
Maybe
be funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's.
It could be you wrote this is how my song Drugs was produced.
Yeah, like this is how Drugs was
very
made.
Clever way of phrasing
I covered my legal bases.
Yes,
They can't sue me.
No one's suing you. Okay, so when did you discover your talent for writing?
I've been writing short stories since I was middle school, like even before, like in elementary school, I was writing short stories. I was always writing poetry. Even third grade, I remember I wrote a poem, and I still like it. It's really cool. But
do you have it on you?
The poem? I probably do actually.
It'd be cool if you found it.
Yeah, I can. Should I read it? It's like this is like third grade material.
Whoa.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, amazing.
This is, I believe, third grade. My writing is not like this anymore, and this is like one of my first poems ever. But I'll read it. It's a little embarrassing, but it's good. Okay.
Only if you want to.
Oh, I like being embarrassed.
Okay.
It's perfect. It's good to be vulnerable when it feels uncomfortable. I like that.
That's awesome.
Okay. It's called One Dark Night, but night is spelled with a K. So like K-N-I-T N-I-G-H-T.
Like the night from
it's not third grade material, but okay,
yeah. One dark night, a night in white, a night of men and kings. One dark night, a night in white, who'd play and laugh and sing. Until one night there was a fight, a war with blood and gore. He took a sword, or maybe four, and heard the lions roar. The lion pounced, the knight bounced, and sliced the lion's head. The knight in white had turned to red, a dagger through his chest. He fell down and turned around, and then he went to rest. Cracked his jaw. Oh, who saw? She saw, he saw, on the seesaw. We saw, the town said. War was won, so back to fun. The knight in white was dead.
Wow.
Third grade?
Yeah,
Is this finished?
What?
You finished it.
Yeah, that's the end.
Wow.
Wait.
So that's like, we had like a class poem or something that you have to like write something, and that was like one of the first things I wrote. And
that's crazy.
It's like Dr. Seuss.
Literally, I was just gonna say you could make that into like a child's book.
Yeah, I mean it's a little gory for a child's book,
right?
But
yeah,
it's also funny because like,
was it something that you were learning at the time that influenced that poem?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's
the
possible. I don't remember honestly,
yeah.
But I don't like remember any specific time where I learned about knights or something that would make me. I was in like Chabad.
Yeah.
School, you know, it wasn't
like the lion made me think of Daniel or something.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe you were
yeah, because the lion.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Wait, can you explain the poem?
Explain that poem from third grade. It's just a story. I think it's just a story that's. It seems like it's about a knight in a war, and a lion attacks him, but then the lion doesn't kill him. The plot twist is that another person kills him with a knife, a dagger, and again, I'm in third grade, so this is funny that I'm writing about this.
It's interesting.
And then it's I guess that's the story. It's just a plot. It's a typical plot twist night story.
Got it.
War. It's a war story.
So very early on, basically.
Third grade me.
Okay, so you just, I mean, you were writing from early on.
You basically
and
allowed this creative
not my
voice.
best. But that's cool.
Right. But that's cool that you were in third grade and you were able to write something like that. I would never be able to.
I stumbled upon like some journals that were like school, not journals, like school notebooks that have like stories I wrote, like short stories, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, like all the things I was writing. And I'm like, whoa, I can't believe I wrote that when I was like in third, fourth, fifth grade.
You know, it's funny because I feel like a lot of us look back at the stuff we wrote and we're like, oh my God,
cringing.
This is awful. It doesn't seem like that's the experience for you.
There's some things that are awful and like there's some things that are cringy, but it's like overall, I'm impressed by my like abilities. Like my English teachers always liked me. I think because I wrote interesting stories and like they were surprised.
Yeah.
Also, my handwriting. I was always known for good handwriting.
Mm-hmm. You were the perfect student in English class, and
yeah. Except I wrote with my hands I don't hold a pencil normally. I hold a pencil like this,
Okay.
like in between two fingers, in between these.
Oh, that's whack.
Hard to explain, but I write weird.
Interesting. Okay.
You'd have to see, like, I don't even know how I do it. I have to like have
I
a
don't.
pencil.
Yeah, I don't have a pen around here.
Yeah.
Maybe after you could show us.
So the teachers didn't like that. They were like, no, you have to write the right way. But whenever I did it, my handwriting was messy. I was like, listen, you can only get, you
Yeah.
can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yep. It comes with a catch.
What kind of handwriting do you have? Is it very loopy? Is it blocky? Like, how would you describe your handwriting?
I'm
I'm actually
this is
curious
the
about this, 'cause
important
have you ever
stuff.
gotten your handwriting analyzed?
Yes.
Okay.
I've had my handwriting analyzed.
Okay.
Is it loopy? Is it blocky? I would say it's a little bit loopy.
Okay.
Mix of both.
Not so blocky. It kind of is like a font on a computer. Like it feels like a font. That's what I was told in first or second grade. The teacher was like, "Did you print this?" And I was like, "No." And then she told
Best compliment ever.
she told
Whoa,
someone,
she thought it was printed?
She didn't. She probably didn't think it was printed. She probably was just like trying to make me feel good. But it did look printed. Like it was good.
And
That's
it did
crazy.
Make you feel good.
Yeah. My English teachers. I always had a good relationship with almost all my English teachers. I
What
think.
about your math science teachers?
Math is not my thing. Science I enjoyed depending on the teacher. Like a good teacher can teach science really well, and a bad science teacher can be like any bad teacher is just, but like I remember good science teachers. I remember everything they taught.
For sure. Yeah. I remember like the difference between a good and a bad teacher. You just understand the information better. It clicks.
Yeah.
Remember earth science? I was like, what is going on here? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the world.
Yeah.
It's actually something I had to decipher for myself in college when I didn't understand. Even in college, now that I'm learning and stuff, like if I don't understand the material that's going on, my automatic frame of reference is I'm not ingesting this right. It's my fault. And then I actually began to realize that like a teacher can actually be not teaching it well.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
I feel like we should know, like as students in high school or elementary, we should know that. I feel like I never knew that.
Yeah.
Like there can be
That's
a bad
very
teacher.
relatable. That's
You
very
know what I
relatable.
mean?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
I always thought that. Like if I was I always thought I was bad at subjects because
Exactly.
I didn't do well in them.
Right.
But then I
Yeah.
had 1
'Cause
year
I'm
with a
a
great teacher. I was like, whoa, why am I doing well in math this year?
So
know?
true. Wow.
Yes, right. Like it changes your whole way of.
I always thought I was
how you
just
thought
bad at
about yourself.
science, but like we just had bad
Exactly.
teachers.
No, we just didn't have Miss Hertzberg in high school.
Right.
Right.
So then your talent for music, like
Okay, yeah.
writing. Yeah, we're going. No,
go
by
back
the
to
way,
the
we
music thing.
love tangents.
Oh,
we love,
I'm like a tangent freak. Like
Love it.
all I
Me
do
too.
is go on tangents.
We hop. We
Remember,
love
I didn't even
hopping,
introduce myself
skipping.
so far, by the way.
Yeah, no, I was
haven't
about to
had
go
the
into
introduction.
it. Do you want to introduce yourself now?
Yeah, I'll introduce myself and then I'll explain the
Okay.
music part. I am Ari, also known as Alnev. I have other names, but none of them are like things that you would know. I just have names I like having names. Names are cool.
Yeah.
I'm a singer-songwriter, musician, poet, friend, sensitive person. I don't know. But yeah, I'm a Scorpio.
What does that mean?
Really?
I'm so
I don't know
not
what
astrology.
it means. I just say I'm one.
Aren't Scorpios like jealous?
I feel like Scorpios have like.
Are you jealous?
I'm not jealous. Scorpios are, as far as I know, which is very limited. I know all the good things about Scorpios.
Right.
Loyal, stubborn, intense, sensitive.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And
When I
you
think
would
of a
say you
Scorpio, I
relate
think of
to all
someone.
those?
I think of like
I like all those.
Slytherin from Harry Potter.
Stubborn, but
But do you think you are
not the
all
negative
those
connotation
things?
of stubborn, the positive.
I think stubborn. Yeah, I guess I could have both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we finally introduced him after
That's
like
the
what 20 minutes in.
introduction.
Okay, so how did you discover your talent for playing instruments,
So
making music?
everything I do is self-taught. I never got lessons in songwriting, piano. I never there was a point where I had a teacher for this, like years after I already started trying to figure it out. And I had a teacher who wasn't very helpful. She was really sweet and we ended up just talking the whole time. But like she wasn't so helpful in learning piano. I can do it all on my own. And I had her for like a few months for 30 minutes once a week, probably for like 2 months. The point is, yeah, I'm like self-taught,
Got it.
writing, singing, everything I do, I've learned myself. I've been writing forever, so writing has been just like natural. Like I've always been a writer, and with music, I've been playing piano. Like seriously started learning piano when I was probably like 15, 16, around the time I started writing songs. I was learning both at the same time. And I delved into piano a bit when I was like 12 or like 13, but not actually like trying to learn. I was just like, this is fun, and here's a YouTube video that teaches me like how to play Stitches. You know.
Yeah. So this creative voice that you have inside of you and that you're allowing to express itself freely, it sounds like, throughout your teenage years.
I hope so.
What was there any ever restraint to it? Were you ever suppressing it for some reason, or did you just allow it to come out?
Definitely suppressed. Like singing was something I was like I suppressed a lot when I was younger. I always loved singing, but I was always like ashamed. I don't know, ashamed. I was just like, I was embarrassed to sing in front of people. And I wasn't really encouraged about singing. Like no one was like, oh, we'd love to hear you sing. Which you can't expect, but it just didn't happen. So I was always kind of like, maybe I have a bad voice. Like I'm not really going to sing. So I kind of like hid my voice for a while, and I wasn't that great, honestly. And then when I went to Wilkes, which I have to shout out everywhere I go because it's the best thing I ever did.
Was Yosef also went there, right?
Yosef also went there. That's how we met.
That's how he also like wrote his first song. He said.
So everyone like thinks it's a music school, but it's just a school where people who are different come, and that ends up being a lot of creatives, and ends up being that music's made there, you know?
Right.
But there's no like,
it's not like specifically for music.
It's not for music. It just happens to be that people end up loving music there because they're all like out of the box creatives.
Yeah.
Who can't deal with the system or don't like the system.
Did you ever, sorry, I'm cutting you off, but did you ever go to a different school or you right away went to Wilkes?
My first high school was Masifta of Coral Springs, Chabad, mainstream.
And that was like in the system?
That was in the system, 9th grade. And then from there I went to Wilkes.
Okay. So then in Wilkes
that was where
blossomed.
That's where I blossomed. That's where I really started writing and learning how to play and performing too. Like I would like not sing in front of a single person when I first got to Wilkes. I was very, very like quiet. I didn't want I was also already like starting to write music a little bit in Coral Springs, like 9th grade. I was like writing a little bit. I wrote 2 songs that I consider like songs, and then I wrote like little random jingles that were like horrible and I want to burn. They're just not good.
Okay.
But there was like 2 songs that were like kind of good, and I'd say my first Alnev song that I would consider like from the part of me that is Alnev, it's called Metaphor. I'm probably never gonna release it because it's not like the greatest song, but it's cool, and it's like the first song that I didn't even know how to play piano then. I had a friend play piano for me, and I was just like, I just wrote a whole song to it, and it didn't mean so much to me, but it was like I just sort of like my first real full song, and that was really cool. But where were we?
Just how you discovered that, I guess, starting making music and stuff.
Yes. So I was scared to sing in front of anyone, and then when I got to Wilkes, I started writing more, and then one person would walk in the room. We were in like a tiny building. This is Mount Cobb, which was the younger version of Wilkes. So it was like 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. It was like a group of 20 kids max in a tiny building. Like it was a very family vibe. It wasn't like a school. It felt like a family, and we had chores. We had like, it was like,
which probably cultivated that environment of like, just being comfortable to like express yourself.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you came so scared and sheltered and didn't want to sing, I'm sure that there was something happened to be
yeah. So it was just like, it was encouragement and being surrounded by good people. And like, it was like one friend was like, oh, can I listen to what you're doing? And I was like, okay. And I was like scared, and I sang a song, and I was like trembling a bit. And then 2 people came in, and then we did an open mic night. And one of the shluchim convinced me. He's like, yo, sing, like just sing at the open mic night. I was like, okay. So I did it. I was shaking. I was like, oh, I can't do this. And I did it. And
this was the first song you wrote that you performed there?
No, I had already written a couple songs at that point.
Okay.
But I wasn't singing in front of more than 1 or 2 people. Like I was just too scared to. And then at that open mic night, I sang in front of maybe like 15, 16 kids. And I was like, I was scared, but like I got through it. And then since then, I've played in front of like 700 people.
Could you imagine what it would be like if we cultivated an environment within our community of that encouragement, of that like, do it, creatively express your voice. I'm not going to judge you. I'm here for you. I support you. Can you imagine how many more people would come out of the woodworks and share themselves vulnerably? Yeah, I can't even imagine that.
I think we're already getting there a little bit. Like,
I think so too.
You know, with the passing of time, like we're just people. There's just so much access to the internet now, which I think is such a mixed thing. Like how it's affecting us negatively and positively, but like I don't know, we're modernizing a lot, and I like a lot of it. There's some things I don't like, but I like a lot of it. And one of the things is like people are just expressing a lot more than they used to.
Yeah,
yeah,
which is great.
Which is great.
yeah, overall, it's a net
It also
positive.
is a little bit more of a. We're not there entirely. I don't think. I think there has to be like pioneers. Do you know what I mean? And maybe that's a little bit of like an inflated like label, but I think someone like you is a little bit of a pioneer. You know what I mean?
That's part of the point.
Yeah, taking a little bit of the mantle and saying, okay, I know I'm going to receive some sort of judgment. And where do you stand on that?
On judgment?
Yeah.
My answer is kind of like not so exciting because I don't really feel judged, which it's just like, it's not like I have like every day I'm worried about what people think. Like I just like most of the time I engage with people about my music. It's people who love what I'm doing and want to support it to some extent, although most people, their level of support is different. A lot of people will support from afar until you're famous, and then they're like, oh, I knew him the whole time, we're best friends, you know.
Best kinds,
you know. So there's those people, but overall, like most of the people I engage with like love what I'm doing and like they look up to it,
and that's the people you want to be engaging with.
Yeah,
because the people, I'm sure there are people who are judging it.
Yeah.
But
that's what I was.
You're just not paying attention to it, and that is what I
love
always speak, because we always disagree on this. You're about to see a real life fight.
I'm so excited
because we always disagree on the whole day of judgment. And
say?
My take is, Chai's take is, call the people out.
Say your take, and I'll say my take. Don't strong at me.
Counteracting your take, but my take is like, just don't pay attention to those people who are judging, because they're running their own lives and their judgment literally just does not matter, and then you can just like flourish with that with the people who don't judge you. And I feel like your take
giving me the floor. Yeah.
Go ahead.
What is my take?
Go ahead. Okay, should I say what I think your take is?
No, I'll say.
Do you guys want me to leave?
Please stay.
We want to see who you agree with.
I was gonna say that it sounds to me almost like you are not even in the zone to intake any of that, because it's happening. I assure you it is. But it's cool that I don't think you're tuned in at all to any of that or worried or concerned about it, which is great, because I think you're an artist and it's not your job. But I think there's a part of me that's a critique as much as I am an artist, and I want to see things get better. So I can ignore that part.
I think
and it's
the way
also something
for it to
that I'm
get better
deeply affected by it. And I think that there's obviously different methods of how to fix something like that. But I also don't want to give people who have that kind of mindset of judgment, of, to me, like too close-minded, a pass. And I'm not sitting here being like, you should change, because that's not obviously how it's going to bring out change. But I do think it's something that has to be acknowledged and something that should be called out, because how are we even going to solve anything if we can't articulate the problem?
I love that. I love what both of you said. Cool. I have a third take, which is
a mix of both.
My experience, it's a mix of both, but it's also like a little weirder, like honestly, because my experience is more of your end. Like I don't notice it and I don't experience it so much, and it's just like it's irrelevant to what I'm trying to do. But also I totally agree, it's so important to like call out people who are being close-minded and stupid and like don't have we'll keep it light, but just people who are being like ignorant. Like we can teach those who are ignorant. I think that we like, it's so two things. One, like overall, like we can teach people. And I think that the more people are doing what I'm doing, the more people who are expressing themselves, the more it just becomes the norm, and the more that it's like it's encouraged.
Exactly.
And
I think actions, like just do the actions of like not caring what people think versus calling people out. I mean, like whatever.
And then and then the weird part is I love hate.
We're literally the same. Me too. It like, fuels me.
I love the idea that someone like, I don't know, like I've gotten maybe 3 negative comments on social media in like my life, and maybe like 3 DMs. So probably like 6 total interactions that were like actively like people saying gross things or negative or like inappropriate or like just stupid takes. And I really like it. I don't know. I just think it's like, it adds a little spice, and it's like, it's flavorful, and it's like, it's just exciting to be hated on. It's like, oh, like you care enough that you're going to leave a comment about how you don't like this, you know? And then like, I'll always respond with something like, thank you for commenting. Every comment gets more people to see this video, you know? So you just help me out.
Smart way to deal with it.
I appreciate you. You know?
Yeah. That's
I do appreciate it. Leave hate comments because then I'll get more reviews. It's good.
I think that's such a good way. Like the whole thing of like hate comments, you're just like paying me more, or like you're like literally just helping me more.
Yeah.
Because it just, people who hate, they fuel off of, they're either trying to get attention, they're either trying to get in a fight with someone, they want a reaction. So by not giving them that reaction that they want, it definitely lowers the flames and puts out the fire. That's why I think like by actively doing things that, like going against the grain and doing things even though people are judging you, just taking the action, not even speaking out on it, I think is so powerful. And I think giving people who judge that reaction, I think it makes it worse. It makes them even more wanting to do it. And so I deal with it. But I do think also, like, as much as we're getting like upset at each other, I do understand that everybody deals with judgment differently. And like I relate to you more where the hate fuels me, it gives me more motivation to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
But some people it tears them down. So
yeah.
It just depends who you are.
I'm generally not affected by negative things that have like nothing to do with me. So if it's a random stranger, it can't have much effect on me. But someone who's close to me can tear my heart out. Like if someone close to me like says something mean to me or hateful or anything like that, I would not be able to handle it. Like it would destroy me.
Yeah.
Because I just put investment and like it really matters to me what people who are close to me think.
Has that ever? Yeah,
I think
that's a little bit
question.
of a. Yeah, it's personal, but
yeah,
has that ever happened to you?
It's probably less about what people say and more about what they don't say. Like people that I'm close with, I think the people who are closest to me don't really listen so much to my music. Partly because, and you know, it's fair enough, a lot of it's about them.
Oh, okay.
So, like not a lot of it, but some of it's about them. And like when you have someone who's writing songs about you, like it could be hard to listen to that music, especially if it's painful and it's about dark times that you've had. Mm-hmm. So I've had like some of my closest friends like have a step back from like my career because they're just like, you know, they're a little careful about it and they're not like always sending me love about it. And I think like love, it would be great from them and I would love it. But it's like, I also understand like it is a little hurtful, like to people that you really care about to not feel like they're like totally pushing your success.
That sounds
what about
you go ahead, Rika.
Sorry. What about your family? Have they supported it throughout? We could totally cut that out.
Don't cut it.
Okay.
No, it's good. I'm trying to really figure out how to address family on podcasts and in public.
Okay.
I haven't like fully planned out what I should and shouldn't say. I think with most things I'm very vulnerable and expressive, and I think that with family I'd say like two things. One, listen to my music if you want any indication of what my family's like. I've written 120 something songs, so there's a lot of content that'll give you a full background. And just secondly, like I'm trying to figure out what I should and shouldn't say, and what the consequences are of what I like.
That makes sense.
Of what I say, and I'm not positive.
Hard lines to cross.
Yeah,
sure.
so I'm like. I think the most I'll say, at least now, although I would like to speak more about it in the future, and maybe I will, like maybe today will be the day where I just go all out. But I would say that overall my relationship with family growing up was not good. It was not a positive place. It was not a good place.
So tough.
Would not recommend it. Definitely the worst place I've been. So yeah, you asked if they support it or if they show support. I'd say like they're not even connected to it. It's like it's very distant. It's like my thing. It's you know, yeah. Although my older brother, he's an amazing person, and he definitely supports it. Like he always reaches out when I put out music, and like he's an amazing person. Yeah.
Is there anyone else in your family who's like creatively talented and has?
My youngest brother, Benny, he's 12 and he plays piano really well. He's been playing for a couple of years. Yeah, so he's definitely talented. He has it. He's really great. And then my older brother, Menachem, was he 24, 23? I think he's maybe 24. So he does harmonies incredibly well. He has a beautiful voice. He also plays piano really well. Like it kind of like we kind of have it.
Yeah, it seems like it's
a
in your
bit
family.
of a familial thing. I don't know where it comes from though. Like there's no grandparents or great grandparents I know of that were like specifically musical, and my parents aren't musical either. Like
interesting. Okay.
As far as I know, like
so growing up, when you would turn to writing and when you would turn to writing songs or making music or things like this or playing instruments, I don't know if the right way of framing it is as a escape, but was it something that you had entirely for yourself? What was your relationship to it at the time? And what did it provide for you growing up?
So when I first started writing music, so this is like 15, 16, like really writing music, I'd say that it was completely an outlet of my emotions and my experiences at the time, which were really like dark and negative. And like going to Wilkes was what really shaped the person I am today in all the good ways, and like really got me to figure out what I want and who I am and how I feel. And the music was a lot of it was dark, although it still is dark. It was like very raw and expressive of like current emotions and feelings that were happening at that time. And it was, I don't know if it was an escape, but it was an outlet. I would say it was an outlet. It was it felt so good to just put down on paper or on notes like an exact expression of what I was feeling, and in a beautiful way. And I was like, every time I would sing, this is still till today, but when I was singing then, it was like I'm getting it out, like I'm really saying what I have to say. And I was really like happy about that, especially when people around me were able to take it and listen and support it and be like, yeah, you know.
How do you create now? Like, you know, you're not really in Yeshiva anymore, right?
No, I'm not.
Now you're like living here and day-to-day hustle. How do you create this like creative environment to like, do you just let it come to you, or do you sit in a room and have set times where you're going to write a song?
It's in between. I usually let it come to me, and it will come to me at some point. It usually happens once a month, which is pretty funny.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, just like once a month it'll appear. There is some pressure though. The problem with putting out music is that over time, the more you're putting out and the more that you're an artist, like to the world and on Instagram, and the more I'm engaging with other people about it, it kind of, and like you were saying earlier, it just kind of like stops being so much about you, and you kind of start thinking what other people are thinking, and you're writing and you're like, oh, what are they going to think of this? You know,
right.
Which I don't like, and I try to avoid that. It has affected me, and I like, you know, that's what happens the more you're in a public light and the more that people who aren't you are listening and giving you feedback. So it affects you and affects me. But it's definitely not as easy to write. Most of the time, it's not as easy to write as it used to be. Although, I don't know, hindsight's 2020. I don't know. Like, I'm sure it was really hard back then too. But I feel like I would just write. I needed to write all the time then. I was in so much pain. I just needed to express it. And there was so much going on, and there was so much drama and this and that. And it led to so much music. And the more I'm going through, the more I can write usually.
Do you ever find yourself like looking for that kind of painful time just to have music? That might be a dumb question, but
it's not a dumb question. One of my favorite lines, like, of all time is something Julia Michaels wrote, which is sometimes I kill relationships for art. I start up all this shit, then watch it fall apart. I pay my bills with it, you know, which I think is really cool. I really like that.
It's crazy.
Line.
I mean, It's like also the same. It might not be the similar thing, but like how therapists make money off of other people's problems. And so if everyone was perfectly okay, they wouldn't make money. Like, you know, it's a weird dynamic.
I wouldn't say I pursue drama. I think it happens to me, but it's also it kind of makes sense because number one, I'm sensitive, and number two, I'm very what are the two forms of attachment? There's anxious
and avoidant.
So I have more anxious attachment. So like I'm much more like.
So is Rivka.
You're not
anxious
attachment?
I don't know what I am.
Okay. So I'm much more like relationships to me mean so much. Like it's huge. Like relationships affect me the most out of anything. So if I'm engaged in a relationship with someone, this is like friendship or any sort of relationship, but particularly friendship is what's led to a lot of the writing I've written, which is why like the closest friends have a lot of songs about them. Because like when you really care about someone, they can really hurt you, you know, and that will lead to a lot of writing. And
the more you care, the more they can hurt, for sure.
Exactly. So I don't think I chase it. It happens to me
because you're so much. You attach yourself a lot to people
because I care so much. Yeah. So it ends up affecting me differently than most people.
And by the way,
comes from everywhere though. You can be sitting alone in your room for 20 years and produce something that a ton of people can relate to.
I mean, there's art and there's good art.
No, but I'm saying there's something incredibly deep about it. I don't think you necessarily need to have an active thing that compels you to write. Like there are things that bubble within you that you have to say. You don't know where they come from. Something that you have to get out, and it doesn't have to be from a current experience. I really think that.
That's what I've done. That's what I've done more of recently. It's been like there's just less. I guess as I've gotten healthier and focused on different things, there's just been less drama, and like things go wrong and things are bad, but I've just gotten pretty good at handling most things, to some extent. Although who knows? But
it's always a work in progress.
And it probably has not affected your art lessened you as an artist is what I'm. I
don't think it lessened me as an artist, but it just the mode changed a bit. So it used to be I was experiencing something, I'd have to write about it, and now it's like I would like to write and what's inside me that I can pull out right now.
Yeah.
So I can pull out a ton of things. It's not as easy to access, and it requires a little more like groundedness
sitting with yourself.
And sitting with yourself.
Sounds more like mature.
It's a little more mature. It's also it's more meditative, and it's much more like it's processing in a really different way. Like it's very like focused, while writing out of emotion that's directly happening is like it's very like oh my god. It just like it flows out immediately.
Is the second one more as therapeutic or even therapeutic at all?
I think they're both therapeutic. Yes. They're in different ways. Yeah. One is like a meditative therapy, and one is like a
getting it out.
It's kind of like a punching bag therapy. It's beautiful. It's like
because I do want to tear down the idea, or at least clarify that I don't think you have to be a suffering artist. Like I don't think it's a prerequisite to make good art, even though people think that you have to be like this stupid person on the street, kind of like just in pain all the time, to like a kind of like a Bob Dylan type figure. I know, but like I go to school, and like I know that there are a lot of people that think that.
I have mixed feelings about that.
Yeah, so please share, because I just think that you could do that second process, and you can create something as good.
Yeah, I think that. Like art can come from anywhere. I do think that pain is, in my opinion and in my experience, which is definitely biased, pain is the greatest creator of art. Emotion is the greatest, and I think pain is just like there's nothing that is more universal in the human experience than pain. Like we all like there is not like you are guaranteed to feel pain. You know, suffering is another thing, but pain is like it's just part of life. Like no matter what you do, like. You were born in an act of pain, you know, like there's no way to like life is, it's not only pain. It's beautiful and it's amazing. And there's so much love and joy in it. But I think pain is like a very foundational part of the human experience. And I feel like that in my limited knowledge of art, I would say that that's like pain, like art from pain has always hit me in a way that no other art can. Most of the time.
I do think also specifically the pain of heartbreak is like the most universal, I would say. That's why like most music is like about that. Relationships. A lot of songs are like happy and getting into relationships, but I feel like the songs that hit are like heartbreak because everyone can relate to that.
Okay, interesting.
Feeling
I never thought
like
about
not
that.
Worthy. Do you think so?
I think like it makes sense. I mean, heartbreak songs are the top songs. I think most of the time.
Because I think we live in a culture that just obsesses over romantic relationships.
That's also a part of it that I was thinking about.
I don't think it's a culture. I think it's human beings. We the deepest level of connection we crave is that of romantic relationships. And then when you're heartbroken, no.
I'm the halfway point.
No, you're literally our therapist over here, our couples therapist.
Me and Rivka are best friends, but we disagree on basically everything.
It's pretty interesting.
I've had that.
Yeah.
I've had best friends.
Maybe I should write a song
what's the story behind the song Drugs, if you want to share?
Okay. It's a little okay. I'm going to try to not get into too much detail.
Okay.
Just because if the person it's about, I don't think that the person it's about knows it's about them. And if I can avoid them knowing it's about them, I feel like it's a better move than if they do know it's about them. But they probably know at this point. It's just about a friendship that was toxic at the time, that was just not, it just wasn't right, and it wasn't going well, and like the relationship was filled with codependency and toxicity, and drugs is, I wrote it like during the toughest part of the relationship, which was I call all friendships relationships. Okay. That's just how I view it.
No, it is a relationship.
Yeah. It's a really important relationship. Yeah. But like the toughest part was like after, like when I decided we shouldn't be friends. And it was really tough to like, you know, to lose someone that you really care about, even though your relationship isn't healthy. To lose someone that you care about is rough. And drugs is about like just being addicted to someone. Like
you know it's bad for you.
You know it's bad for you, and you know it's not going to work, and you know it's not, like, you're just addicted because you're addicted, and like it's hard. I don't know. It just, that's what it is. Does that make sense?
Totally. I totally relate to it. I think Hai relates to it too. I think a lot of people experience that. Was it like the type of where you're giving more to the relationship than the person?
I think it's always like that.
Yeah.
I'm always the guy giving more.
Okay. Do you ever try to stop
experience.
yourself? Like you're cautious of it?
I think over time I've grown to be much less of that guy, I guess, because I've learned my lesson of like, you can't give everything and expect everything back, but you can give something and expect something back. And you can also figure out why you're giving everything. Like, why are you giving so much? Like, what does that mean about you?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm talking to myself right now.
Yeah.
You know?
No, yeah. Because like, are you giving just to get back? Are you giving to
feel needed?
It's like a million
important
things.
things. Yeah, for sure.
Traumatized children.
Woohoo. Wow. Okay. And then when you wrote that song, did it help you like move on from it, or it was just your expressing?
It was one of a few songs that did not help me move on from it. That helped me wallow in it, and then we ended up working things out. So we're friends now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it's better. It's better. There's always going to be underlying issues, but it's definitely not in the place that was that dark. It's not bad.
What can you actually share with? What are some of the things you've learned as a person who tends to give more in relationships, on how to, you know, tether yourself to be more realistic? Is it just dependent on every relationship to figure out the expectations?
I feel like I didn't learn the right way. I feel like there's probably a healthier way to learn than I learned just trial and error, which was just being that, like, really chasing relationships and friendships for like a million different motives that weren't, it's not like they weren't pure. They were just from a traumatized place. Like one of my I love fixing people. Like that's like one of my favorite things. Like helping people is amazing. Like I love helping people, and then one iteration of that is like fixing people.
I love how self-aware you are. Like most people will just translate that as helping people, and you're just like, no, it's actually coming from a place that I want to fix people.
Yeah, I think there's like, helping is healthy. I think fixing people is like, it's like there's like a savior complex there. It's like, I need to save you, and I think I can do it, and I think I'm the guy for you that can figure it out.
And then you're just dealing with all that person's shit that goes on to you. And
yeah, well, I mean, I happen to love that. Like I love, I'll take, like, my natural state is to love taking everyone else's pain and like listening to it and be like therapy.
But it doesn't get to you. Like
it gets me, but in a way that I like. I think it's like I think I can help, and I think that I'm a great listener. I'm a great friend. I've always tried to help friends.
Do you feel ever used by people because you?
It's the opposite. I think I use myself. Like I let myself be a vessel.
It's so cool to do what you're doing, but the problem I think with it is obviously that it's through a mode of selfishness. So it's not truly connecting to someone if you're ever trying to get something out of them through fixing them. So
it's a mixed. It's a mixed pool. It's very difficult to like figure out exactly what it is.
It's so difficult to figure out
you
what
can
your
help someone.
intentions
like
are.
I've really helped people with this. Like I've actually helped change people to become better and more full whole individuals because I've tried to fix them. You know, so there's so much positive in it, but at the end of the day,
why is it unhealthy?
Because it's like, where is it coming from? Why do I need to fix people? What is it about?
But if it never gets to you, you never get resentful about it, then why is it?
It does.
It does get to you.
It's the resentful part isn't because isn't because I feel used. It's because I'm like, why won't you do it for me?
Got it.
It's because this is one reason, but there's like a million reasons. But one of the reasons why I've done this is because I need someone to be there for me in that way. I need someone to take the weight of all my problems and be my fixer. So like, I'm being this
You're projecting
person, and I'm projecting what I need, and I'm amazing at it. But like, can you not just give just like maybe 100% of everything that you are to me, please? You know?
Right.
But that's how I used to think. I'm not a changed person completely, but through trial and error, I've learned from multiple best friendships and multiple experiences that like it's not the healthiest way to go about things. And I got really burnt, like not physically. I got burnt really bad. In 2020, there was like a bad situation that went down, and that like changed it was horrible, but like I'm grateful that it changed the course of the way I view relationships and friendships, because I just put so much investment and energy into, like, friendships were the number one thing for me. Like, before my career, before anything, a friendship was the most important. Like, it's all I cared about. I'll do anything. Like, I'll set aside anything. I'll do whatever it is, you know? But I just learned that I need to focus on myself, and in a positively selfish way. Like, I need to focus on what I need to do and how I need to work on myself, and like really give myself the love that I'm missing, instead of giving my love to all the other people. You know?
How old are you, by the way?
I'm 21.
Okay, I feel like that's like literally the age of figuring out friendships and boundaries. I mean,
young 20s.
we're 23. It's the same, kind of emerging that stage, I think. But like, yeah, I remember going through that also, and going through it still, trying to figure out your boundaries with friends, figuring out your self-value. Like, once you have self-value, like, everything follows. Like, healthy friendships, you have healthy relationships, because you're able to view yourself better. So you don't have to give everything to that person until it's the right time. And like,
it's a long journey. I'm still working on it, but I think I'm 2 years in. Yeah, I'm about 2 years into figuring out like what type of friend I want to be and what type of person I want to be. And I know a lot about what I want, but there's always so much more. I think there's always room to grow.
I think you'll be all right.
I hope so.
You're very.
I'm gonna drink your fancy water.
Yeah, no, it's not that fancy.
It's in like a little
mason jar. Yeah,
mason jar.
Yeah, I think you said it really nicely. Like that, it's really a turning of inwardly and kind of questioning your intentions and what you're doing, even if they appear good. And creating that landscape. For me, though, a lot of it I have to learn how to not always just get lost in the skepticism and always question my intentions of like whether or not this is pure, whether or not I'm actually doing this to help this other person, or I'm doing it because I want to be perceived a certain way, or I'm doing it because I actually really just want them to need me, or whatever the motivations it is. I think there has to come a point when you like just solidify that you're trying at least, and that trying makes all the difference.
It's difficult because it's multifactorial. There's just so many. Human beings are like the most complicated machines ever. So like to figure out why you do what you do and what you're even doing, it's like there's just so many things to figure out, and it's pretty blurry, but one thing at a time. I'm figuring it out a bit. Yeah. Who knows? I'm figuring out something. So
okay, so
awesome.
I'm going to say a statement. And I want you to tell me if you agree or disagree with it.
I disagree. Go on.
Just to make it more
interesting. Just going to move on to the next question then.
I'll probably be on his side.
Thanks. What guides you to create is what matters.
What guides you to what?
What guides you to create something is what matters. Oh, what motivates you? In other words,
as opposed to what?
Yeah, I don't really get it.
I understand the sentence.
Oh, okay.
Is the sentence the full statement, or is there like there's other things that people would think are more important than what guides you?
Do you think it's the optimal thing? Like, do you think it's the most important thing when you are creating something? Why you're creating that is what matters.
I get it. The why behind it.
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably 50-50. If I'm understanding it correctly, I'd say it's 50-50 why you're doing it and doing it, like actually creating it. Because it's easy to get lost in like theory and lost in the intellectual, like, oh, what is it? Why am I doing this? And I feel like just doing it it's like a mixture of both.
I do think
does that address what you're saying, or is this completely irrelevant?
I think you got it. I think it's the idea, like, let's say we are doing this podcast. Well, before we started the podcast, why we're doing it, like people would say, why are you doing this thing? The answer to that question is what fuels us to keep on going, even if we don't have the most amount of views, and the why behind it.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah,
I think it's very, very important. I did not know why I was doing what I was doing when I started. I just did it because it felt like the right thing, but I could not explain why. And I've had to really figure out why. So I think there's always going to be a why. If you're doing something, there's a reason, you know? But
I think sometimes it could be as simple. Like, I think for this podcast, for me, it's as simple as I love doing it. I don't know if that like sufficient enough of an answer, but that's really what pushes me to keep on doing it, even if it's not successful and, quote unquote.
That's a great reason to do something.
Yeah.
You love it.
You just enjoy it.
So why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? I make music because it feels like the right thing to do. It just feels like me. I couldn't imagine a life where I wasn't making music, regardless of if anyone listened, regardless of if I was on an island alone with a guitar or a piano, preferably a piano that was like plugged into an infinite wall outlet that existed on this island somehow. But I'd always be writing music. It just is what I do. It's like not even. It's how I express. It's just one of the ways I express that's so important to me, no matter what. Why do I put out music? Is like 5 reasons. What are the reasons? Okay, it might not be 5. It might be 3. I don't know. Whatever comes to mind. But 1, I feel like art deserves the place of art is to be seen and to be given. Like art that is like under a rock is not like it's missing the purpose of it. Like I think the expression of art is primary, but it has to be given over to an audience. Like I don't like it feels wrong to hide art and to like keep art to yourself. So I feel like number 1 for myself, I think it's important for me to serve my art to the world, to the audience, and let it be out there. Number 1, just because art needs to do that. Number 2 is to encourage other people to do that and to give people to be a model for people to see that, you can be vulnerable and you can express yourself and you can share everything you're feeling and thinking, and like the world, like that's what you're meant to do. I don't know, like what else are you going to do? Just lock everything away and like, really? That just sounds boring. Like, yeah. 3 is I want to be famous. I would love for the whole world to be able to hear my music. I love attention.
Same.
I love being seen and noticed. It's important to me. And also with fame comes the ability to affect a ton of people in a positive way. And the goal of my music is one of the goals of all these goals of my music is to show people like vulnerability and give them something that hopefully they can relate to and like give them a voice for what they're feeling. I think that the best music is music that gives a voice for what people are feeling, because you feel it and you're expressing that, and then other people are like, oh, that's what I'm thinking and feeling, and you just said it and I just heard it and now I'm crying.
It's also like a way of people to not feel alone in what they're feeling.
Yeah.
That is.
I should have said that. Yeah. That's like a huge thing. It's like I don't like people should know they're not alone.
It's probably one of the biggest ways to heal from pain is to know you're not alone in it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
that's what music's done for me. That's why I love music that's like from a painful place, because it's like, oh, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Like and there's so much just beauty in hearing music that's vulnerable and from a place of like pain, because it's just like, oh, like thank you, like you're saying what I feel.
It's the vulnerability that you can feel behind whatever it is you're engaging with. It's the artist completely infusing themselves into it and therefore allowing others, and that process just allows other people to connect to it totally. It's kind of weird because whatever art is, if it's kind of done properly, in my opinion, which is the artist just completely giving themselves over and not thinking about all these external factors of trying to get the fame, trying to, hoping that this hits in a certain way, they're slicing a piece of themselves and they're putting it on a platter for you, and then people eat it, and it's like they can connect with you and like the collective, right? That's kind of what's happening when you're doing art. So it's as much as I think you guys agree with the pain thing, it's pain, sure, and pain is something that everyone connects to, but it's more the vulnerability. It's more like the shuttering away of the fear of judgment and shame, and just allowing yourself to be in that space, and people connect with that.
Yes.
But I do think
sense?
that
totally.
For you, you struggle specifically with vulnerability and shame, and so that's what you're relating to. Whereas I don't necessarily, so I would relate to a different type of pain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you connect with everything, but I'm saying like
you
connect with things. Yeah.
All the emotions, when you express it, is a layer of vulnerability.
That's why I say, what's the why?
Expressing
like,
emotion.
What is that?
Yeah, vulnerability is at the bottom of it. I think that vulnerability is like what I'm preaching. Like and if that means happy music, if that means expressing like pure joy that you really feel, I'm all for it.
I think we sense it too.
There's a little authentic meter in your head.
Right.
That's when you think music is bad. Sometimes if you have like an eye for art, like you can be like, this doesn't feel real. Like this doesn't feel authentic to me.
So then how do you engage with vulnerability, and how are you able to just be like, I want to be vulnerable? It's a very scary thing. No, you kind of said it in the beginning of this podcast. You're like, it's uncomfortable. It's vulnerable. I like it, which is not the reaction people have usually.
I love it. It's just so invigorating. I don't know. There's like, what am I going to do other than be truly fully myself to the extent that I can be, you know? Like what else am I going to do? Like hide away what I have to offer? Like,
yes.
Yeah, but you know, like, I don't know, like it just,
if I
could imagine a life in which I do either, I can hide away what I have to offer and I can give. And I'm like, well, it seems like a pretty easy win for giving, you know?
Oh my God. Do you have this experience where you zoom out and you're like kind of, I don't know if you saw the clip of Billie Eilish saying like, we're all going to die anyway. And in 100 years, no one's going to know who we are. So F it. And like, do you ever have that?
I didn't see that clip, but I love that.
That's literally what fuels me to like
really
not care what people think, is that literally no one's going to remember any of us. So might as well put everything out there to just try to make myself memorable and do what I love for the rest of my life. I don't think I feel it. Do you relate to that?
I relate to it, but I don't feel it to the full extent. Like it's not a big focus of mine of like, no one's going to remember me. It's like, I kind of want people to remember me. So here's what I'm doing to have them remember me.
But more of the sense of like zooming out of like, kind of like,
it doesn't matter what people think.
We're a tiny speck and like, yeah, it doesn't matter. No, you're not. Okay.
I don't really, I feel the opposite. It's like, we are so valuable and we are so important. And like, all we can do is offer our value and our importance to the people around us. And like, the fact that we're alive is seriously, like, it's crazy because I'm so pessimistic in my music, but like realistically, like the fact that we're alive is a blessing. It's amazing. Like to be able to live and have consciousness and be healthy enough I'm on a podcast right now and I'm not sick and I'm, you know when like one of your nostrils is stuffed and you're like, oh, I wish I thank God for all the times I wasn't sick. Yeah. You know, like I get that all the time. So like right now I'm just thinking about it. Like I'm just grateful I'm not sick. And I'm like, there's so much beauty in life. I will not lie. There's a lot of pain and we've spoken about that, but I don't know. Like I feel like everything so obviously matters. Like the idea that nothing matters is just cheap to me. And it feels incorrect. And I heard people say like, oh, but what if nothing matters? And I'm just like, it doesn't feel like nothing matters. Like
it's weird because that's what helps me do whatever I want. The fact that nothing matters.
I'm the opposite.
So we're the opposite in that way.
It's like everything matters. Like I have the ability to be everything, and that's what matters. Like every decision I make matters because I'm making those decisions. Like I guess for me, the fact that I don't take myself too seriously or life too seriously helps me not take other people's opinions seriously. Like you're just a person who probably had, went through the struggles that we all went through, and you're just trying to like get through life, and it's coming out in a way of judging me or being mean, but like I'm not going to take it seriously because we're all. Oh my God, I have the opposite. It's crazy how I'm the opposite because in my head it's like, what is making you act this way, and what are you, and like how can I figure out your story that will lead me to understand you fully and like get you.
Just articulated my internal dialogue beautifully. Really? I'm very much a take life seriously person. Yeah, that's one of the things we are so opposite on.
So interesting. Yeah,
yeah. I think the world needs a mix of both.
I'm like, I want to understand everything. I want to like I want to know.
But not only understand, I want to get to the core. Like I want to. Yeah, because at the core, but do you ever struggle with the soul? Like
truth. I'm fueled by truth. Love too. No, okay. No, love's amazing. Hippie. I just like truth.
But I mean like truth. I mean that like actually though.
You sound like hippies here.
I probably would be a hippie if I could.
Do you ever like find yourself in a place where you're taking yourself too seriously and you're like, I need to just relax a bit?
Yeah, the extent. So the negative end of viewing things this way is probably perfectionism. That's my experience with it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm so like, because everything matters, it's like every single detail in this reel I'm putting out has to be exactly as I imagine it. Like it has, and also people like, it has to work, you know, like I have to love it. And like there's a lot of pressure because it's like I need things to be perfect because they all matter.
They're literally the opposite of
the pressure. Do you ever feel like you can explode? Do you ever want to just like cut yourself open and just like spread yourself out on the side?
Why not just take life not seriously?
I've never felt that exact feeling. No, I'm so sorry. Like you probably feel crazy, but like I haven't experienced that yet. Maybe tomorrow.
Like I'm just saying the feeling of so much pressure. That's not even, everyone's like, what? It's myself. It's just myself creating this intense pressure for, I guess, perfectionism.
I
is one
feel
of them.
it in like I feel it when I'm like creating very consciously. So like most of the time I'm not feeling it, but like when I'm in a mode of conscious creation, or like when the more conscious I am, I'm a hyper aware person, very conscious. So like the more I'm conscious and aware, like if I even right now start thinking about what I'm saying and really like try to pick it apart, I'm gonna start speaking differently. Like I'm gonna be like. So
here's what I've learned about people like me and you. I think, okay, so I'm a writer. My dream is to be a screenwriter.
Can I just say that we share so much in common? Like
it's
I
crazy.
share so much with you.
I know,
and
it's
so
weird.
Much with you.
I was
It's
relating
so
with
cool.
you so much until this. Now I feel ostracized. You guys have your moment.
Now you feel what she was feeling.
I want to say one thing before, like that. What you were saying, like the negative side of taking yourself too seriously, and for me, the negative side of me taking myself too not seriously is laziness and like not caring about,
Dude,
you know,
that's so
it's
cool.
crazy, right? I just had that realization right now that like
I kind of have that too, but
okay.
I don't know how I also have laziness, but I also
no, I mean,
can we just be everything everywhere all at once? Anyways, I was gonna say
screenwriter.
I was saying, so with writing, the way that they teach you in college to how to write, let's say a feature film, is that you're gonna outline. You're gonna outline crazy. You're gonna know every single detail about your story before you go ahead and start writing the actual film. And to me, for someone who is that perfectionistic type that you explained and like has to super hyper aware of every detail and everything, it has to be connected, and the threads that I create have to all come back in this beautiful woven tapestry at the end of it, right? So that process alone, just setting off on that process, is people don't even understand. I'll be like a shell of myself. I just be like this intense pressure of having this beautiful woven thing that I have to create that I haven't even started. And to me, that's somewhat of the antithesis of what the creative process is, because a lot of creating is throwing yourself into the chaos, into the darkness, and not knowing what's going to come out, not knowing what you're even trying to say here. But I'm letting something guide me. I don't know what it is. This voice, this thing that we're all connected to, like consciousness, or God, if you want to get like the most zoomed out, because I think it all is very deep. And for something that I've learned, and this is not something that you have to take for yourself, is that everybody's process is different, and not necessarily should you be outlining if you're a screenwriter. Sometimes you should just be writing. You should just write and write and write and write and edit afterwards. Do the thing and stop worrying. Stop it. Like, don't be in your head. It's your ego. Let the process take you. That's what I've learned.
It's interesting because I agree with that. At the same time, there are like, I think perfectionism has also led me to make such incredible things that I'm so proud of. And I'm like, I made a perfect thing. And I'm just like, and it might be ego, but I'm just like, I am so proud of myself for making a perfect thing. Like there are some lyrics I write, I'm like, how did I do that? And like, honestly, those lyrics are probably the ones, I'm going to contradict myself. Those lyrics that are perfect are probably the ones that just pop out of the ether. So like they probably are from just like they just like appear. But okay, never mind. Never mind. You were right.
This is why we're the therapeutic.
Yeah, I'm
figure out things
about
here.
it.
See?
Maybe.
See what I'm saying?
Let me think about it.
Yeah, think about it.
Yeah.
What was your point?
Many of my great songs, they appear, and I open my eyes. I'm like, what did I just do? I don't remember making this, and I'm like, who gave this to me, and where did it come from, and what does this mean?
Right.
I'm like, just learn. I'm like, oh, thanks. You know, whoever you are.
Yeah.
I think when you're not expecting something, sometimes the best things can come out.
Yeah.
Like you're not. It's kind of like when you're waiting for the hot water to boil. You know.
Yeah.
It's just you walk away for a little bit, and then you come back, and things just kind of happen.
You have to immerse yourself in the creative process, especially if you're somebody who is a perfectionist. They're at odds with each other. Is what I think.
Did you ever?
I have to think more about it because I still have a feeling of attachment to the idea that there's something good about perfectionism, but I have to really think on it.
Yeah.
did you ever feel like you had to limit your music based on just the idea of like sticking to religious ideas, or the idea that like we're not supposed to really listen to love songs and stuff like that?
To put it very strongly, I'm in very high opposition to any art that isn't actual expression. So if I was making art that didn't express what I actually feel and was just for some like stupid reason, and I'll list some of those, it just, what am I doing? Like, am I making art, or am I being a marketing team for Jewish kids who drive to school at 8 a.m. and we need to have something on in the car while we drive? So let's do something that's clean and nice and has Hebrew words that we pulled from a pasuk from the Torah and has
Those people make good money though.
They make good money from the weddings
yeah.
they do, by the way. They make great money, and they make good money. They can support their families, but
they're not inspiring.
Is it art?
Right.
Is it art? Is it life changing? Is it world moving? Does it affect people? Like, I don't know. Like,
no,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
And if it does, good. But I just don't. I mean, experience that. It's just, it feels shallow. Like,
yeah.
And I think that the problem that I'm trying to fix and trying to be the problem that I'm trying to be a voice of reason in and be a model in some way and try to help in, is just bringing authenticity to this community, especially in music. Like, we don't, like, look, 20 years ago, none of the music was authentic. And the ones that were authentic, there are a few, and you can find them, and like, those are the ones that everyone really connected to. But overall, like,
but why would
it's people singing songs that they didn't even write themselves, which is already like fine. Like, some people have amazing voices and they should do that, and like, it's a great way to use your voice, and I respect that. But I don't know, like, these people aren't writing their own songs, and they're also not, the songs that are being written are just, they're empty of meaning, and they feel like preaching, and they are preaching.
I would
like,
disagree with that, but
yeah, like
yeah.
It's like, if I just feel like when I'm listening to a lot of that music, I'm just like, what is here? Like,
I mean,
it's just, I'm being preached to about things that, like, yeah, we've heard it a million times. Like, you grow up in this religion and in this specific sect of religion, like Chabad, like, you grow up mainstream Chabad, you know what's expected of you, and you know what the messages are, and you've heard the same things 1,000 times. So, like, I'm not saying there's no value in it. There's value. I think Chabad is great, and I think there's value in Judaism, and I love Judaism, and I think that religion is super important. But at the same time, like, are we neglecting the real art? Are we neglecting the actual expression of ourselves? And wouldn't it be a better society and a better religious experience if we could actually be fully ourselves in it?
Yeah, I think I agree with part of what you're saying.
100%.
The part that I disagree with what you're saying is that, like, there's no music out there. Meaning, I understand that there's some songs out there that they just create it for the kids to dance to at weddings and stuff. I do think that, like, in Hasidic music, in some Israeli music, Isha Ribo, like, I think they express something super deep that people feel.
Yeah.
That
I think
connection with God is a real thing that people.
Isha Ribo.
Isha Ribo is a great example of that. I think sorry, I have to say this because this is like going to be held against me. But Isha, I have a hard time listening to now just because of how popular he got. But like, before he was so popular, I thought regardless of his popularity, he makes great music, and you could tell, like, he's a musician, and you can tell that there's so much creativity and art and expression in what he's doing. And like, it could be about a relationship with God, but you feel it, and it's beautiful. Yeah. And I'm not talking about Isha. Isha's amazing.
I know that. I mean, when you said, like, that there's like no, let's wait, this is calm down. That there's like nothing. That's where I disagreed, because sometimes I'll go through weeks where I'm only listening to Jewish music because it's so. And when I say Jewish, I mean like Israeli Hasidic songs, even. Because they are being authentic to who they are. To them, that's everything. Okay. Even Avram Fried. I mean, I don't love his voice, but like, he embodied, like, I don't know him for. I see your face contorting.
I'm not saying anything.
You be as blatantly honest as you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, like, but some of his songs, like, you can feel the passion that he's singing it with.
I agree. There are some Avram Fried songs that are wonderful.
Some are not. Some are
beautifully expressive and have emotion in them. And like, those are the ones that when I heard and I was a kid, I was like, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like it now because it's overplayed, and I've heard it a million times,
Right.
you know.
Arguably, that's still your point, because I think what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're connecting to that vulnerability, or that like that realness.
I'm not saying there is none.
Yeah.
If I said that, I'll correct myself. There is some, but there's so little of it. And in the past, I'm thinking of 2005 to 2000 and before Yosef David put out his first song, basically. So from like 2005 until then,
he was the breaking point, turning point.
I think Yosef, in a lot of ways, there's other people. I think Matisyahu did a bunch of it.
Matisyahu, yeah.
Yeah, he's made a huge impact. Ari Rabin made a huge impact. Ari Rabin's incredible. I love his music.
Yeah.
But Yosef, for me, like I've seen the direct effect Yosef has had on people, and on myself, like just seeing someone who's just an incredible artist, an incredible person, like such a good songwriter, such a magical, angelic voice, and it's real expression. I'm just like, okay, like he's inspiring people, and I'm like, I think that there's a kind of like a lineup of artists now that are inspiring the youths.
Like, I think what's so real about Yosef is that he does it so intentionlessly. I don't think,
it's who he is. Exactly. It's who he is. Yeah.
It's just
that's the best type.
He's amazing. He's amazing. We're also close friends, so like I'm biased. But.
And friendships are everything to you, so you're very biased.
But I get what you're saying. That meaning you shouldn't have to be limited in what you want to express.
Yeah, but and also like it's not you shouldn't have to be. It's like if you are expressing it, the act of expression requires expression means offering what you are.
Right.
So it's like, if it's limited, then like what is that still expression? If you're really limiting, like
you can express a certain part of you.
Yeah. I'm saying
other parts of you.
I'd say the less we can limit it, the more effect it has. And the more it strikes. Like the more close to your heart you can give something, the more it strikes someone else close to their heart. And I think that one of the goals, which I didn't mention, is in this community, in Chabad and in Judaism, I'm trying to set an example of creating real, authentic, vulnerable music that gives off what I actually think and feel, and I wrote myself, and most of the time, like I've written almost all my songs completely myself, which I'm pretty proud of, because it's not everyone. Most artists nowadays, like they're writing in rooms with 5 people, so it's like cool to be able to do that. Good job. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, so like to show like all the kids now who are just learning piano and just trying to write, like they can look to someone and be like, oh, okay, like I have an example for what I can do, and like I can look up to Yosef, and Yosef looks up to his people, and like we all have, but it's definitely a new thing to be actually vulnerable and expressive and really and talk about your own life, and like talking about love and heartbreak and even friendships, like discussing pain in Judaism in this community was not a thing that was like public. It wasn't like and like until the wonderful internet came around, and like we just kind of got all a little looser and a little more chill, and we realized but like expressing, like I don't know, what else are we gonna do but be ourselves and express ourselves? Like the kids are sick of the old ways. We've come to tear down the buildings, and we're gonna burn down it. Okay, I'm joking. We're not gonna burn down anything.
Revolution.
The revolution is here. Like,
I'll say that in such a jovial voice. We're just gonna come burn it all down.
I don't condone violence. We're just
be who
the revolution is here. The revolution is here. People are just being who they are more. And I am so happy for it, and I applaud it like you just did, and I promote it, and I'm here to be a face of it, and
I'm here to be a part of it.
I'm here to be a part of it, and you guys are here to be a part of it. What you're doing is amazing. How many girls are going to listen to what you guys are doing and be like, oh, like, what if I did a podcast?
Right.
And that question wasn't a question they would have unless they heard that you existed.
It's being vulnerable, being who you are, and that's beautiful in and of itself. That process.
Yeah, no.
I just want to say just quickly, one of the most
By the way, I have a few more questions, so we're not ending it now, are we?
I think we should wrap it up.
No, but I have really important questions. Okay, finish what you're saying. I'm gonna ask.
One of the most amazing feelings is when people I've actually had people come to me and tell me like, hey, I would not be making music if not for you. And like,
that's everything.
That's what I'm trying.
That's crazy.
One of the biggest things I'm trying to do. So let's go. Like, I love it.
What I wanted to ask was, how do you find the community of young, vulnerable, authentic singers? There's a lot of you now, like on the up and coming. How do you find that community? Is there competition? Is there more of lifting each other up? I know Mendel Goldman was saying that there's like a little bit of like not so much lifting each other up. What experience do you have with that?
My experience has been overall just supported, I think. I think that I haven't experienced it or viewed it through the lens of competition. Just personally, I feel like most of the people that I know don't view it through a lens of competition.
Yeah.
We really are just like, how can we help each other? And like the only time where things can get a little like not competitive, just like the only time where things go wrong is just like when people just misunderstand each other and don't know what's going on. And like everyone's so focused on trying to succeed, and like everyone's so focused on trying to build themselves up that we just don't like, I don't have time to think about someone else's success most of the time. I mean, especially if I'm really trying to succeed, like I need to figure out what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah.
And so basically my general experience has not been competition. I've never viewed it as a competition. We're all here to support each other, and everyone that I've met that I'm friends with in the community, and all the artists I've met who are Jewish or Chabad, like all they want to do is help support each other. Like if they can do what, like they're always shouting out each other on Instagram. They're always listening to each other's music. They're always providing criticism. Like I made a song with Jericho, like because he's a great friend of mine, and he's an amazing person. He's helped me with opportunities, and I've opened for his shows. And Yosef, we write together and we hang out like basically every night of the week. And like there's like the community I think is overall really great. And even like to extending outside of Chabad, there's so many artists that aren't Chabad, from Flatbush or from Coney Island or the other places in New York that I've never been to. You know, I've been to Flatbush, but you know, like there's like if I could name, I would love to name drop. Can I just quickly name drop a bunch of artists that I love?
Of course, go ahead.
There's this girl named Shoshana Mizell. She is one of the best writers I've ever heard in my life.
She has Instagram?
She has Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, Shoshana_music, I think.
Okay.
We'll double check. But she is wonderful. She's so talented. Like I would do anything to write a song with her. And we're going to. She just lives in like Queens or whatever. So it's hard to, you know. But she's wonderful. There's Shira Neshama, another girl who's incredible. Like these aren't Chabad people. These are incredible artists. Like, and we've connected through social media. And then there's people from LA. There's Ari Goldbart. He's outlandishly talented. When you sit next to him, you feel like you're like, what am I even doing here? Like,
wow.
Like, where did he come from? From heaven? He's amazing. And he's also an amazing person. So like, these are all good people too. So like, that's the best, you know, like being a good artist is one thing, and being a good person is like,
that's why I think
if
the collaboration is the best way to lift each other up.
I want to work with you.
One person has success, it doesn't mean giving it to another.
I think collaboration.
I heard what you were saying, that like you need to focus on your success.
No. But regardless, I think collaboration is a great way.
Yeah.
I just think my experience of collaboration is always like it has to come naturally, and it has to be like because collaboration is creation with people. You know, like you can support people, be friends with people, you could shout out people. You know, but collaborating with someone is like it really has to come naturally. It has to be like the right vibe. You have to see how the music connects. Like
it's got to be a synergy there.
Yeah, I didn't mean necessarily like writing music with other people. Yeah. I'm saying more of the general idea of like lifting each other up. We're all in this together. Let's. I think that's giving you a shout out doesn't make me any less like.
Dude, yeah, valuable. I think at least my experience has been almost all the time. Everyone is in the same thought process. Everyone's like, how do we help each other? Like, what can we do to each other? Like, we're getting on calls with each other to be like, what do we do next?
That's amazing.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. To wrap up, can you perform one song?
To perform one song. Okay.
If you want.
I can perform. Maybe I'll perform.
Or whatever. Just give us some of your talent, or not even a song. You could just play some riffs, whatever that's called.
Some riffs. So this is my new guitar. Her name is Noelle.
Noelle. Okay.
She's beautiful.
Gorgeous. I love the strap with the.
It's really nice.
This is a piece of foam I put there it mutes it and it makes it beautiful.
Oh, cool.
Do you guys want to hear something that's released or unreleased? What's your preference?
Unreleased.
Yeah.
Unreleased.
Yeah.
Are you going to release it?
Everything's going to be released. There's just so many of them.
Right.
Give us a little teaser of something, maybe.
Okay.
We are about to hear an unreleased song.
This is scary because it's like a newer song, and it's like oh, how am I gonna do? Like I wrote it pretty recently, so it's like
I'm so excited.
How's this gonna go? I don't know.
Did you produce a song yet?
No, this is like written earlier this month. Like this is brand new.
Okay.
Where's my capo? Sorry for taking so long. This is gonna be like the longest podcast ever, huh?
I love long podcasts.
I love long podcasts too.
I think it's the best way to go. We're the same.
Okay, this is called Scarcity is a Funny Thing. I wrote this. I started writing this in LA on my last trip to LA, and I finished writing it in New York, which is cool because it's like multi-continental.
Yeah, continental.
Multi-stateful? Okay, whatever.
This song has crossed state lines.
Nationwide.
It encompasses both creative states in America, basically.
Yeah, sure.
Scarcity is a funny thing, and you were running out of patience. Could it be that a blood machine could be its way to being vacant? What if every road I've built was just a tribute to our destruction? It's a violent conflagration. How'd you hate me? That's the consequence of a silly little situation. Asked a question that I shouldn't have. We were running at different paces. I still pray that you'd come crawling back. Honestly, we were poetry, and I would stutter over each line you would write. But the book you read doesn't mention me, except in the footnotes or margins on the sides. What if every world I've built was just a figment of imagination? Would you love the way we're portrayed to birds that never got the chance to fly? There's a silly little indentation in the bark of every trunk outside. Two initials that would never make it. Could we even mourn what would never die? But in another life, we're washing dishes, doing taxes. Two old Christians told us we were couple goals that night. And in another life, we're watching movies, Kitchen Island, fighting, screaming. You want a divorce and I don't mind. And in another life, we're making money, top headline in every country, power couple, the perfect man and wife. But then another life, if Dean counting, you get cancer, I remarry. It's not real, it's just another life. Scarcity is a funny thing, and you were running out of patience.
Wow.
That's that.
You have one of the most powerful voices I've heard in real life.
Really?
So, like, it took up so much like space. I don't know. It was very powerful, and that was a gorgeous song.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
I can't wait. I can't wait for it to come out so I can listen to it.
Who knows? I would love to put it out.
Why don't you just do like an acoustic version? It's so pretty.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it.
It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you so much for
Amazing.
sharing that with us. And thank you so much for coming on this podcast. It was a great conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, Chaya, Rivka, legends. I love what you do. I appreciate what you do.
Same
Thanks for
here.
having me.
Likewise.
Keep on doing
Likewise.
And yeah, to the masses, a message to the masses: be yourself, be vulnerable, express. You can make a podcast. You can make music. You can write. You can be yourself. You can express. So
Go
And we
check him out
support
on
you.
Spotify and Instagram.
yeah, Alnev, Alnev. Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, the works,
all the
everything.
places.
I exist everywhere, even on Twitter. But don't look at my Twitter. It's
Even in your mind.
my Twitter is wild.
Delete that
My
thing
Twitter
as
is
soon as
wild. I
possible.
love
Do you
it. I
tweet?
love
You
it.
tweet?
I tweet like the most
Wow.
insane. I
Okay,
think
I'm gonna
like what's
check
the
it
most
out.
insane thing I'm thinking? Okay, I'm tweeting it.
Twitter.
Yeah.
That's what Twitter's
Don't
for.
look at my Twitter. Actually, do look at my Twitter and follow me. But low
All
key,
right.
All right.
thanks for
Have a
having me,
good day, guys. Thank you.
Let's go.
This podcast is also sponsored by Dear Basic Shopper. She right now has an amazing collection of beanies, the best beanies ever. She's also coming out with different collections of a lot of basic stuff that you need. So check her out, Dear Basic Shopper. Give her a follow on Instagram and go on her website to check her out.